Episode 101, baby. It's playoff time. We've waited all season for this, Brooksy. I'm sorry. The Royals, the A's, the Angels, taking the back seat. It's playoff time. It's time for big boys.
Time out. Can't you just named like the awful like low budget teams? What about all the teams that spent all that money?
Okay.
Padres, the Mets,
the Padres. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean?
That's right. Top 3 payrolls in baseball are not going to be playing playoff baseball.
They will be playing golf. Yeah, man, interesting. I think that's just a testament to like teams starting to maybe pay a little more attention. Not they don't pay a lot of attention, but start paying more attention to scouting and development. And these teams that are in it right now have pretty good farm systems. So maybe that is something to look at, and not just the big splash to make your fans happy at that given moment. Just a thought, because it works. But we're here. Yeah, this is it. This season felt like it flew by. I think a lot of that had to do with average game time was 240, so the rules worked. It was fun. It was shorter. We watched less baseball. Not less baseball. We watched the same amount of baseball. It just all happened in a more condensed time frame, which was better for everybody, I think. Outside of beer vendors, which the sales weren't really down that much anyway, so it was fine. But I'm happy, man. I'm fired up for the postseason. Get in the tournament. That's it, right? They have all these teams, these wild card teams. If you get hot at the right time, you can go get your ring.
I think we can both agree. All 6 teams on the American League side of things, all 6 teams on the National League side of things. Each one of those teams absolutely deserves to be where they're at. There wasn't any team that lucked into the spot that they're in. There wasn't any team that had a couple lucky breaks here and there. No, like these 6 teams in the American League, I believe, are the 6 best teams in the American League.
The only team that I feel like maybe, I don't want to say doesn't deserve to be there, but maybe in a lot of other instances would have not been here is the Texas Rangers. They, through the first 100 games, they were phenomenal. But they pretty much tanked there for a while. And had the Astros and the Mariners not also played terrible during that 3-week period, they wouldn't even be in the mix. They wouldn't be they'd be sitting at home right now too. But it worked out for them, and they heated back up there towards the end of September, and here they are.
I was gonna say, I'm with you. I get what you're saying, but you can't overlook what they did in September. 15 and 13. So it's not like they just completely dropped the ball. They went 15-12 in August, 15-13 in September.
Yeah, but we talk about how the Blue Jays are limping into the playoffs. They went 16-11.
True. Yeah. There's a lot of teams limping into the playoffs. And by limping, I mean like injury-wise.
Yeah.
A lot of teams, they're banged up.
We'll get into this. But the Brandon Woodruff shoulder soreness, injury, inflammation, whatever it is, him not being available in the wild card round, I got Milwaukee going a good ways in this thing, and that makes me question my picks a little bit.
So you have your bracket filled out, right?
Yeah.
Is it the same?
Right here in front of me.
Is it the same? Okay, let me ask you this. Are you using the same bracket that you detailed on CBS Sports HQ?
Yeah.
It's the same picks. So you're going with one bracket. You're not filling out any more than just one.
No, just one. The only reason I would fill out multiples if I'm trying to like March Madness, like I have to try to win money. Like this is just what I believe is going to happen.
A lot to discuss today because there's not just playoff baseball, although that's going to be our focus. A lot of news hit the wall today. The Angels are not going to retain their manager.
Shocking.
Trevor Bauer has come to a settlement with his accuser, so Trevor Bauer is going to be a free agent at season's end after he had a very strong season over in Japan. So he's going to be a free agent. I don't know. Maybe he returns to Major League Baseball. It's kind of up for determination. Age 32, dominant season. Kind of have to wait and see on that one. And I haven't filled out my bracket yet, so I'm going to kind of do it live on the show because I want.
That's fair.
Rely on your expertise.
I'm going to be your research tool, is what you're saying.
Pretty much, because I tried doing it, man, and a lot of them are coin flips.
It took me. I started looking at it last night because I had to talk. I went to HQ and did Spotlight on CBS Sports Network today at shows at 4. I started looking at it last night, and I got a little overwhelmed because I was like, all right, here's my picks. And then I was like, wait, this guy, and I just like completely changed half my picks.
Hmm.
It's tough. It's tough, which is good because that means we're being for some good series.
I think a major determining factor for me is I really value which series the matchups are in. I say that because I think some teams are built for a best of three.
I
Some
was just about to
teams
say,
are
it
built
depends on
for a
how many
best of five,
games.
best of seven. That
Oh,
really matters.
for sure. For sure. And we have there's some very inexperienced teams in the mix with
Yeah.
some also they could be playing some very experienced postseason teams over the past few years with rosters of guys who have been there. And I think that comes into play late into the playoffs as well when there's a World Series berth on the line.
We'd be remiss not to discuss the passing of Tim Wakefield first.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure. I didn't know him on a major personal basis, but when I went over to Boston to meet up with you, I think it was last year, I got the pleasure of shaking his hand and meeting him, and just seemed like a very just down to earth human being. And so I think the world is going to be a worse place without Tim Wakefield walking the streets.
It's a good way to put it. Wake was a good dude. I mean, it's just all kind of came out of nowhere too. I think it all happened pretty quick. I don't know the details as far as when things started going wrong, or I had some people close by who kind of filled me in on some things that were going on within the last week and a half or so. And obviously Curt Schilling broke some news that not probably, it shouldn't have been broken. That wasn't his place to do that. And I think he pissed a lot of people off, me included. I didn't really agree with the way he did that. It's just not his place. If Wake wanted people to do that, he would give the Red Sox the go ahead on a statement, or he would come out himself and make a statement, not on Curt Schilling's podcast. So him and his family are just going through, had been going through a lot the past few months, with his wife fighting some illness. He's got two teenagers. So he just, to the man, I mean, this is a good man who selfless. He put himself and put everyone in front of him before him. He did so much in the Boston community as far as charity work and helping others, whether it was veterans, whether it was kids in need, anybody in need. The Red Sox Foundation, he was the sitting chairman there for them. So he did a lot in the community. And he's just always been that guy. He started as him as a teammate, and it carried on post playing career. And then I didn't play with him, so he was before my time. But I was analyst with him the last 2 years. I called a few games with him in the booth this season. This is just out of nowhere and really just kind of really shaking up not just Boston, not just the Red Sox organization, but like the baseball world, everybody that's had contact and known Tim Wakefield. This is a shock, and it hurts, man. You hate to lose anybody, but he was special. He was different. And it sucks. No way around it.
Major loss, two-time World Series champ, Red Sox Hall of Fame, 2009 All-Star. I'm glad you got the opportunity to work with him on the NESN network at least. So that's
Me too, man. Me too. And and it wasn't even about baseball knowledge, this and that, the numbers on the back of his baseball card. Like, he never even talked about that stuff. Mm-hmm. It was talking about, like, how are we going to help this group? Hey, can you help me with this with the Red Sox Foundation? Hey, come to our foundation tournament. Like, let's do this. Hey, I have these people coming in to visit us today. Like, they're fighting this. They're dealing with this. It was always about other people. And I think even down to the end, he didn't want people to know about what he was going through, because he didn't want people to feel bad for him or worry about him. So I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
We'll attempt to transition here into a lighter subject matter, but Tim Wakefield's family, friends are definitely in our thoughts and prayers.
For sure.
We'll talk bracket breakdown, but I have a couple bullet points I want to kind of toss your way, Brooksy, because we can't ignore the big time news that came across just today. Couple things. Major League Baseball put out their audience numbers for the year. Major League Baseball, according to Bob Nightingale, it drew more than 70 million fans What's the largest increase in fans in 30 years?
30 years.
30 years, 3 decades. This is the largest fan draw they've gotten in 3 decades.
And that's just from 2022 to 2023.
That's just 2023.
No, I know, but the increase is from last season.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think the new rules played a part in that. I think Major League Baseball, which has had a marketing problem the past decade, has really listened up to players and ex-players and people within the game to realize that they did have a problem. And I've seen major change in that. I've seen them right there with NFL and the NBA and other major sports as far as social media and content, and that helps drive it, man. If you want the younger generation locked into this, you better be on their tablets and their screens and do something to keep their attention, their TikToks or whatever you kids do. But that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, you just got to keep people interested. And I think the rule change obviously made the game a little more easier watch. I'll put it that way. 30 minute, what was it? 24-minute faster
24.
game?
Yeah, 24 minutes on average. Yeah.
So that's great. It doesn't sound like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, it really is faster paced game.
Postseason rules. Pitch clock's going to remain. The Ghost Runner, or is Ghost Runner, is that like the universal name for
what's weird? Everybody calls it a Ghost Runner. I like to call it a Zombie Runner.
Zombie Runner. I've heard that before. Yeah.
I call it zombie because, like, he's out, but he's still out there moving around. Like,
right. So that's gone. So pitch clock remains, but the zombie runner rule, where the guy starts on second base in extra innings, that is no longer for the playoffs. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I'm on board with that. You don't want to end your game because you don't want to end your season or like miss out on a chance to go to World Series because of that.
Yeah.
Or the guy on second base. Like, I get it in the regular season. I get it. Postseason, no. We got to play 17. We got to play 17.
The Angels will not be in the playoffs, but they have found a way to fit themselves into the conversations as we talk about the playoffs. That's because they are not retaining their manager in Phil Nevin. So get this, Brooksy. So since Shohei Ohtani signed with the Angels before the 2018 season, the Angels, well, you should rephrase and say that Mike Scioscia stepped down as manager in 2018. Shohei's first season. In 2019, the Angels fired their manager in Brad Ausmus. In 2022, just a couple years after that, the Angels fired their manager in Joe Maddon mid-season. And here in 2023, the Angels opted not to retain manager Phil Nevin. So, hypothetically, if Shohei Ohtani was completely loony and decided to remain with the Angels, it would be his fifth manager in 6 seasons.
Ridiculous, but here you go.
Here you go.
Gabe Kapler is going to be the Angels manager.
Gabe, really?
Maybe.
Perriman Asian's definitely a big analytical guy. It's a decent fit. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, absolutely.
Cali guy?
Yes. Yeah.
LA guy?
Yep. Well, Kapler's going to have a rebuild under his hands because I'm telling you, man, I think it's going to be reset in Orange County.
Yeah.
Trevor Bauer. 32-year-old, going to be a free agent after this year. This is what he did with the Yokohama Bay Stars of the Nippon Professional Baseball League in Japan. He went 10-4 with a 2.76 ERA, 130 2/3 innings pitched, 130 strikeouts, a 1.14 WHIP, and a 9.0 strikeout per 9. He was named to the All-Star team, and he was named the month of June league MVP. So a very strong season for Trevor Bauer, who is now acquitted of any accusations from this rape accusation from the woman from 2021.
The video he put out today?
Very interesting. It was very filling. And
what's even more interesting is, like, he's got receipts.
Whole lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I mean, he basically put out there that anything that was charged against him was premeditated.
The issue with him getting back to the league is, like, he really pissed Rob Manfred off.
Yeah.
Like, he went for Rob Manfred. He went after him. And that's probably why he got the biggest suspension ever. because he constantly called out the league and called out Rob Manfred. And Rob was like, cool, man, you want to do that? Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't know if he's been like blacklisted. I don't know if a team's going to want that distraction. I think obviously with the year of him going and playing overseas, lets that die down. So it's if you'd signed him last year, then yeah, it'd be a massive distraction. Now it's like people kind of forgot about him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just how the world works.
Time
so
heals all wounds, right?
I would not be surprised to see him sign with someone from
so
on like a 2-year deal.
So you think Bauer is in Major League Baseball in 2024?
Yeah.
I agree. I think he is.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk playoffs, baby.
Let's do this, please.
American League. Let's set up the picture here. It's going to be the Toronto Blue Jays as the 6th seed battling the American League Central champion Minnesota Twins as the 3 seed. The Houston Astros are the 2 seed. They get a first round bye. The 5th seed Texas Rangers will take on the 4th seeded Tampa Bay Rays, and the number 1 seed in the American League will be the Baltimore Orioles. So let's start with the American League.
Okay.
Work through the first round there, and then we can switch sides and go to
Try
the
not to spend like too much time on each, and then obviously like as far as further we go in the bracket, the least information we'll have just because we've probably already talked about the teams. But let's start with Toronto and Minnesota. So this one, I told you I switched a couple. I originally had Toronto winning the series.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota had more playoff games since what, 2002?
Something like that. Yeah,
I think they beat the Oakland A's in 2002.
17 straight losses, right?
Something like that. And I think they break. Well, obviously this is a 3-game series, so they could win a game and still not move on.
Yeah.
But I think they win the series. This is going to be pitching against each other. I mean, Gausman, Barrios, Bassett, Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, and Joe Ryan. The difference here, I know Toronto's got a pretty good bullpen too. So I started trying to find a way. In my gut, I'm going Minnesota's going to win this. So Toronto didn't play great down the stretch. They're playing okay baseball. Minnesota 18-9 in September. They're playing really good baseball last week of the season. Their offense was really swinging it. So their bullpen, obviously Duran averages like 102 on his fastball, right? They also have 5 of their main guys other than Duran that average 95.5 or better. Toronto struggles with 95 plus.
Really?
Yeah, man. So they're 24th in slugging against pitches that are 95 and above.
See, here you go, talking me into my picks, man.
Okay, so
that's what I needed.
So, I was just like in my gut. I was like, okay, my gut feeling tells me the Twins are going to win this thing.
Yeah.
So I needed something to talk me into it. So once you start looking into the bullpen and late in games, and Toronto so Toronto's a slugging team, right? When they're winning, they're hitting homers, they're hitting doubles, they're slugging. Well, if they're going to face guys coming out of the pen throwing gas and they don't handle that well, they don't slug 24th in slugging against 95 plus. Let's go Minnesota here. Let's go. They break it. They break it and move on. I got them moving on to the next.
Going to be Gausman, Lopez, game 1 in Minnesota. Tuesday.
Lopez is nasty. And then Sonny Gray's game 2. And he's going to get Cy Young votes.
Yep. Swing and miss stuff is Minnesota's bread and butter. Lopez, Sonny Gray, and Joe Ryan and Kenta Maeda, throw him in there. They have,
but and then their bullpen throws fuego, man.
Yeah, they have 3 guys starting rotation wise that are in top 15 in the American League in swing and miss percentage. So it's going to be a battle of starters. The real question with Minnesota becomes how healthy are they? How healthy? Because Carlos Correa is going to play. He's dealing with a foot injury. Royce Lewis, they're hoping he's going to play, but they're not super optimistic, and they're not optimistic at all that Byron Buxton is going to play.
Correa's playing.
Correa's playing. Question mark over Lewis, and probably a nah on Byron Buxton.
You know what? Kepler had a tough start, and he really ended up having a pretty good year.
Yeah.
Led the team in slugging.
I think Royce Lewis is your X factor there. If Royce Lewis plays, I think the Twins absolutely have a chance to win that series. If Royce Lewis does not play, I'm taking Toronto.
This is gonna be good. I think this is the best wild card game.
So you have
Wild card
Minnesota.
series.
So you have Minnesota. Moving on.
I got Minnesota.
Yeah, I'll take Toronto.
Okay. Of course you
Fifth
would.
seed Texas, fourth seeded Tampa
Oof.
Bay. Game
Okay.
one. Game one will be Jordan Montgomery versus Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah. So obviously we know all the injuries that Texas has had to their pitching staff. Um, and I mean their bullpen. I think the bullpen is what's going to cost this team. I mean, we've seen this bullpen stink the last month, and a lot of that has to do with the injuries to their starting pitching, where the bullpen was having to cover a lot of innings. Getting Nate Eovaldi is huge, getting him back. But I mean, they're going to need length from their starting pitching just because they don't trust their bullpen. Like, what are you going to get from Chapman? What are you going to get from Will Smith? Like, what do you Leclerc? Like, what are you going to get from these guys on the back end? Because sometimes they go in and shove, and other times they go in and give up 4,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't have that. So I love Glasnow. It's probably going to be Glasnow, Eflin. Is it Savali in third?
Most likely, it's kind of
Most
a
likely,
TBD.
but their bullpen, especially the back end of their bullpen with Fairbanks. I mean, they're good. Like this team can pitch, and I still believe in their offense enough. You know what's crazy? Did you know Texas led the AL West for 160 days? 160 days.
Oh wow, no, I did. It's kind of like a Mets 2022 type
Yeah,
situation, kind of.
yeah, and then lost it the last
Right.
the 2 days from the end of the season.
Jeez, I did not realize that. That's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good number there. I might steal it from you.
Pretty good. Hey, you might want to confirm it. I could be completely wrong. I'm going to go Tampa. I'm going to go Tampa in this one. I like the Rangers. They had a great season. I mean, you're not going to have Scherzer this series, so you really don't have. You need really, really good starts out of Jordan Montgomery, which he's capable of, and then Nate Eovaldi
Mm-hmm.
to give yourself a chance there. But I think Tampa's a better team right now.
It's hard to overlook Texas's offense.
It is, man. So that's the thing too. So their offense is probably the most streaky offense in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
They are either scolding white hot or just as cold as it gets, right?
Yep.
So it's like, which offense do you get? And against those arms, I don't know if you get the hot offense.
It's even harder to overlook, though, the save percentage for Texas. They have, September 29th, the 6th worst save percentage in Major League Baseball history. No, wait, 8th. I'm sorry, 8th. 8th worst save percentage in Major League Baseball history. It's not good. So bullpen, if Eovaldi is done after 5, where are you going with the ball after that?
Even if he throws 6.
That's the thing. They have no bridge guy.
It's like save percentage is save percentage. Like,
right.
You get those 7 and they still blow it if it's a 2-1 game, right?
They're going to have to outslug Tampa. And I think Tampa has too good of arms in the bullpen and the rotation.
That's where I'm at. I'm like, all right, I know they're going to have to outslug them to win, but I don't think they can do it against those arms. I'm going Tampa.
I agree. Let's shift things over to the National League wild card. It's going to be the 6th-seeded Arizona Diamondbacks playing the 3rd-seeded Milwaukee Brewers. The 2-seeded Los Angeles Dodgers have a first-round bye. The 5th-seeded Miami Marlins will face off against the 4th-seeded Philadelphia Phillies. And the number 1 seed in the bracket is going to be the Atlanta Braves getting a first-round bye. We'll start in Milwaukee, 6th-seeded Arizona, 3rd-seeded Milwaukee.
NL wild card's fun. It's fun. I like it. I like Arizona and Miami being in here, but even with no Brandon Woodruff, I'm gonna lean Milwaukee in this one.
Okay.
Milwaukee's actually 2-4 against Arizona this year, but none of that matters at this point.
I think it does. Milwaukee, I think it matters.
It doesn't matter.
Why?
Because it doesn't matter. Well, okay, so
some teams match up better.
It doesn't matter. What if you played them in April? Like, who cares?
Sure. You get the context matters. But I do think that some teams match up better.
It depends on it. Yeah, if they played in September, yeah, sure. It matters. See when they played.
All right.
Ooh.
The first series came April 10th to April 12th, and Arizona took 2 of 3. And the next one came in June, where Arizona took 2 of 3.
So to my point, it doesn't matter.
I will see myself out.
So if Arizona can somehow find a way to win game one against Corbin Burns, then they have Zach Gallen going in game two.
There's no way they win game one. There's no shot.
There's always a shot, baby. This
Brandon
is
Fat is going to be pitching game one for Arizona.
his,
He's 3-9 with a 5.72 ERA this year.
yeah, I understand. I also I'm picking Milwaukee, but I'm just saying like they got to try to find a way to win game one with Gallen going game two. So also if Arizona is going to win this, so what makes Arizona good? What makes them stand out is their aggressiveness. Like on the base pass, they're running wild. They play small ball. They hit behind guys. They bunt. They're stealing bases. They're going first to third, scoring from first on doubles. They run well. They play defense. They got to get base runners, right? They can't strike out. They got to work counts. They got to just find ways to get on base to cause chaos because otherwise they're not thumpers. Like they're not going to get up there and. But neither is Milwaukee. But Milwaukee has better arms.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way around that. And I just think even without Woodruff, Milwaukee wins this series.
Woodruff update. Basically, they're a little shady on his projection, but he's dealing with inflammation behind the same shoulder that he was dealing with early in April. And he missed 4 months this season with that shoulder inflammation.
Yeah.
So
guaranteed he's not playing this series because they gave him a cortisone shot, hoping by the next series he can go.
Yeah.
That I don't know if that's the case, but probably. Because if it's just inflammation, he would probably try to pitch through it.
Yeah.
So I guarantee it's like we get him a shot. Just try to get through this first series. But Peralta can throw it well too. So
I'm kind of like you, man. I was a Milwaukee Brewer bandwagon guy for this postseason until I saw this Woody injury. Now I'm a little sour on them, but I do think they still have enough to get past Arizona just because I think that game one.
I also think, just from what I'm looking at and what I just told you about Woodruff, I think we see him this postseason if they win this wild card series.
I hope so. You know where Arizona went wrong? Is they released Madison Bumgarner when they knew they were going to be in the postseason. So they should have held on to Bumgarner, even though he had an 8.0 ERA, and they should have held on to him just for this moment.
They might not have got to the postseason if he was pitching.
Fair enough. I too am taking Milwaukee. Fifth seeded Miami will play the nationally defending champion Philadelphia Phillies, the 4 seed. Game one between the Phillies and the Marlins is going to be. There it is. Jesus Luzardo from Miami against Zach Wheeler, game one.
Yeah. So, I will say this first. Bravo, Miami.
Yeah. My fighting fish,
yeah.
baby!
Pretty sick there where they're at. Skip Schumacher doing what he's doing in his first year there. Proud of you. But this is where it ends. I think Philly is the best built team for the postseason right now. Miami, no Alcantara, no Yuri Perez. That hurts. Braxton Garrett has got good stuff, but he's not one of those guys. Luzardo's a dude. He's got good stuff. But that's one guy. After that, I just if Zach Wheeler goes and hurls a gym, like it doesn't matter what Luzardo does. Mm-hmm. And I just think the Phillies have a roster full of dudes, like postseason built, big moment players, Harper, Trey Turner, Schwarber, Real Muto, like all these guys are like built for the big moments. And that's going to come into play. Something else too, their bullpen's filthy, right? Most teams are lucky to have 2 really high leverage arms. They have like 4 or 5. Yeah. Right? So we're looking at Kimbrel, Alvarado, wrote some of them down. Soto. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody. Sir Anthony Dominguez. Like they got like 4 high leverage arms.
High velocity. High velocity.
Super high velocity. And none of it's really straight either. So I'm going Philly in this one. Happy for Miami to be here, but Philly is about to go off in the postseason, I think.
They're definitely built. Their roster is definitely built for a postseason. When you look at
Oh.
teams that are built for a postseason, you think high power offense and 3 to 4 dominant starting pitchers, and that's really what Philly's got. Like they got 3 to 4 starters that can pitch deep into ball games, and then you put that together, like you just said, with that high power bullpen. I love my fighting fish too. I
And an
don't think they
offense
have
that is this like loves the big moment, man. Like they're a team that like I feel like they don't thrive when they're up 6. Like when they're down 1 in the 8th, that's when this team's like, now we go. Right? Like
and
that's what you need. That's what you need.
facing this lineup. Let's say you do extend the series into 3, 4, 5. Well, first series is going to be best of 3, but let's say they move on. Facing that lineup for 5 straight games, man, that's a tall task. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at their start: Wheeler, Nola, Taiwan Walker. They have Ranger Suarez.
Yeah.
Like, dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
The Miami Marlins became the first team in Major League Baseball history to finish last in runs scored in their respective league and still make the playoffs.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's baseball.
So you have the Twins with a 3 seed facing off against the Houston Astros, who get a first round bye. They will face off in your bracket in the American League Divisional Series. Who you got?
Houston.
Okay.
Good for Minnesota. You won a series, but Houston is just this is where they thrive, man. October. This roster. They somehow still I loved Alex Bregman post game. What was the exact quote?
People wondered whether the Houston Astros, what would happen if the Houston
what would happen
Astros
if they
did
didn't
not
win the
win?
division? Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Guess we'll never.
Like how I told you, the Rangers were winning that division for 160 days.
Yeah.
That's nuts. But just like the Phillies, Houston is built for a postseason. Like they have those big time, big moment players, slow heartbeat guys who there's a lot of postseason experience on this roster, and I think that plays into it. I don't need to get too deep into this. Houston's going to win this.
I can't find it. The stat I was looking for here was Houston Astros by far had the least amount of innings pitched by southpaws. They don't have any lefties in their bullpen, which didn't cause any issues last year because they had the same. They were last in Major League Baseball last year. I think where the Houston Astros could really run into trouble is if they face a team with a bunch of dominant left-hand hitters, because then you have righty on lefty matchups galore.
Yeah.
In Minnesota,
like if they play, well, they played Philly in the World Series last year,
right? And Bryce Harper still, they were able to contain him a bit.
But Framber was also able to work deep in the games, which helped a couple times. But
I think Toronto has enough starting pitching to get by Houston. So I will take Toronto to move on.
Damn. Yeah. You're high on the Jays, huh?
It's my first big upset for the brackets.
Jesus.
I'm filling this out. I'm filling this out as we go, man. Baltimore Orioles, 1 seed. You had Tampa Bay advancing. Who you got?
I have Baltimore beating the Rays. I really like Baltimore. I mean, there's no way around it. They're young. I get it. They're young, unexperienced. But they expect to win. Like these kids all came up together. They won in the minor leagues together. I think there's just something special within their clubhouse, kind of like I don't want to say us against the world thing, but 2 years ago, I mean, this team stunk, right? Last year, they kind of came back on the scene, won 80-something games, and then this year, 100 games. So, I mean, their window to win is now. It's starting right now. And they're going to be good for the next 5-6 years or maybe longer. Who knows if they got to go spend some money. But I think both teams have good pitching. I think Baltimore obviously not having Felix Bautista to close because he's getting Tommy John hurts because they're so much better when Cano's 8th inning, Ciano Perez is in the 7th inning, and then Bautista's closing. But I think we're going to see closing by committee. I think it's going to be the 6th through the 9th inning is just going to be pockets of matchups. So you might see Cano in the 6th. You might have Ciano Perez closing the game. You might have Tyler Wells closing the game, which we saw at the end of the year. He did it a couple times since he came up from the minor leagues, and he was nasty. So I think you see multiple guys. There's no one guy in their bullpen you're going to go, okay, he's going to close out a World Series game for them. I think it's going to be a handful of guys. But I think Brandon Hyde has a feel for his guys, who they're good against. And then that offense is just really good. I love those kids. They're fun to watch. So I'm going to go Baltimore taking the Rays down.
Love Baltimore's team. I got nothing against those players. They have some fun dudes. They all look the same, by the way, too. All these top Baltimore Orioles prospects. They're all white dudes with long blonde, beautiful hair. Hard to root against them. However, from the business perspective, I do not want a team with the third lowest payroll in baseball hoisting the trophy because I think it's a bad omen for Major League Baseball. I think opposing front offices are going to say,
it's terrible for teams, for fan bases that like want to watch their teams deep in the playoffs when the Tampa Bay Rays fan base is dog shit. Sorry, Ryan Wesner, but I'm right. Like you guys they should have a much bigger following, but they don't. And that's a problem.
Agreed.
So I would rather have a team with a bigger fan base.
Yeah. The lesser.
What's Baltimore's payroll?
The third lowest in Major League Baseball.
What's Tampa's?
Somewhere up there. I don't know. Tampa is 20.
What?
20. Oh, okay. So they're fourth. So it goes Orioles. Right.
Okay. So what's your argument here?
28. No, the Orioles would be the lesser of two evils. I don't want the Rays or the Orioles to
We're talking. You're pinching pennies at this point.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you, if you have other front offices that are seeing the success of the Rays and the Orioles and they're not spending money, you're going to have front offices say,
your major argument here was because their payroll is too small. But the next in line is the Tampa Bay Rays. So you're picking the win. Look, more people are going to watch the Baltimore Orioles than watch the Tampa Bay Rays. There's no way around that.
It's true, but I don't have.
Have you seen the Trop compared to Camden lately?
I know.
Okay. I hate to shoot you down, but right. I think you're reaching.
You're right. But maybe I don't have Tampa Bay going much further than that.
I don't have Baltimore going further than that.
Baltimore's payroll is $71 million. The Rays are $79 million. So go O's, great season. Orioles are going down to Tampa. We're moving on to the National League Divisional Series. Dodgers, Milwaukee. What are you thinking?
Okay, this is where I'm messed up right now.
Yeah.
I originally had Milwaukee taking down the Dodgers. Now I'm not so sure anymore. When I did this segment on CBS, the Woodruff news hadn't come out yet. So I did take Milwaukee on there. I'll just be honest. If Milwaukee has Woodruff available in this series, I think they can beat him. Yes, the Dodgers offense is very good, but outside of Mookie and Freeman, I think you can kind of work around that lineup. Where the Dodgers are in trouble, we all know, is their starting pitching. Like Clayton Kershaw is their number one. He's had shoulder stuff going on for a month and a half that he's been pitching through. He's dealt with. So it's like, what version of Kershaw are you going to get? Obviously, he has a history of not being good in the postseason. He's overcome that a few times. I get it, but the history's still there. Then you go to rookie Bobby Miller, who's filthy, but there's zero postseason experience. Like, is that going to affect him? Is that to affect his stuff? He's probably coming up on a career high in innings, I would think, based off of what he did through the minor leagues. And then who do you go to? Like Lance Lynn?
Yeah.
And like now we're looking at, is this a 7-game series? Are we at a 7-game? No, this is 5.
5. Best of 5.
5 game, but still, you need a 3.
Yeah.
Lance Lynn is just honestly like a shell of himself at this point. And man, this is tough. If they got Woodruff, I think Milwaukee can take them down. And I think we see Woodruff in that series.
So you're going Milwaukee.
I'm going to stick with Milwaukee here. If Woodruff isn't a piece of that, I'm going to have a hard time with them stopping their offense.
4 hours ago, I had the Brewers hoisting the trophy. Now with our concerns for Woody, I'm going to go with LA. I think they have enough to get by a non-Brandon Woodruff Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And the Brewers are 1-5 against the Dodgers this year. I know that you got to take that with a grain of salt, but they also beat the Brewers a couple of years ago in the playoffs too. So they've kind of they've actually beaten the Brewers twice in the playoffs.
Bro, you try to tell me it mattered what happened in April. I don't give a shit what happened 2 years ago.
Well, you say that to the Twins, man. The Twins can't find a way in the postseason.
Yeah, I hear
We
you.
both
Yeah,
have
so
Philly.
I got a big question mark by this series.
Agreed. Yeah, it'll be fun. Philly, Atlanta. You got the 4 seed. You got the 1 seed.
Okay. This is my World Series.
Yeah.
Like this is my World Series. Whoever wins this, I think, is better than anyone in the AL.
Mm-hmm.
So like LA, Atlanta's rotation is beat up, right? Like outside of Spencer Strider, who are we leaning on here? Bryce Elder? Like that's your guy? The Braves bullpen was right there with the Texas Rangers as one of the worst bullpens in baseball the last month of the season. Guess why? Starting pitching was beat up. So the guys aren't going deep into games. The bullpen is throwing a ton of innings. And when that's the case in September, when guys are already running on fumes, waiting for that extra burst of energy in the postseason, now they're throwing extra innings and they're exhausted and they're getting crushed. They're walking guys. And that worries me. And I know Atlanta's offense is a juggernaut. You have who will be the NL MVP and Ronald Acuna Jr. You have a 1 through 9 that offense is unbelievable. With all that said, we've already talked about how much I love Philly. Philly wins this 5-gamer, great series. Philly wins it in the 9th inning of Game 5.
Charlie Morton's going to be on the injured list. Finger injury. It says he's going to be out through the DS, actually.
There you go.
Gosh.
And where are we at on Fried?
He's lining up for Game 2. He'll be fine.
What was it? Blister?
Yeah.
Okay. That helps him. I still like Philly.
I just want to be different than you, and so I'm going to go say Atlanta because I think it's a coin flip.
It is. It really is. Like that's what I mean when I say this is the World Series. Like this feels very evenly matched. Philly has better pitching, has a much better bullpen. Atlanta has a much better offense.
The other side of my bracket too is full of underdogs, or at least higher. Is it lower seeds or higher seeds? I got Rays, Blue Jays, 4 and 6 seeds, and then I have to combat that, I'm gonna go with the 1 and 2 seeds here. So I'll go Atlanta advancing past Philly just for the sake to be different. ALCS, Orioles, Astros, battle of heavyweights, 1-2 seeds. What are you thinking?
So this is where the postseason experience is going to come in, and Baltimore their season's going to come to an end here just because. And I think Baltimore wins a World Series sometime in the next 3 years. I just think they're too inexperienced right now. And I think once you get to this point in the postseason without a closer, it's really tough the last 3 outs are so hard to get in the postseason. And if you got Batista going out there, I feel like I'm not saying that's going to make or break them not having a closer, but it's a big part.
It could, yeah.
It could. But it's more just Houston experience over the lack of big games that these kids have played in. And I'm going to lean on the Houston Astros heart rate sitting at about 75 and Baltimore sitting at about 110. So it's a big difference. Like when you're in the postseason, I mean, my 2013, I remember playing in those games and it's like, okay, holy shit, okay, this is the biggest pitch of my life. Strike. Oh, all right. Oh shit, this was the biggest pitch of my life now. Like, and you do that over and over and over again. You get done and you're sitting in your locker after the game and you felt like you ran a marathon. And I think if I played in another postseason after that, those feelings would be cut in half because I had done it before and I had felt those feelings before. I knew it was going to be fine and like just kind of step back and just play baseball. Houston has that and Baltimore doesn't. As simple as that. And I think that really, to put it in simple terms, like you get that tight, you know what? Bad things happen. Like the old saying of booty hole so tight can't do nothing right. Don't clip that and put it on Twitter. But what I'm saying is like you get nervous, you start fearing failure, man. In big games, you see guys crumble. Guys come in, can't throw strikes. Guys start chasing at sliders because they're trying to get the big hit. It matters.
What was
So,
more nerve-wracking, your first playoff at bat or your first World Series at bat?
oh, World Series. World
Really?
Series. Yeah. No doubt.
Well, you had a couple postseason at bats, so I was thinking maybe
Yeah,
kind of got
yeah.
you acclimated to the postseason a little bit.
I had some postseason like knocks, like big one. Like I like. So you remember the Big Poppy Grand Slam against?
Of course, yeah.
So I let off that inning with a double.
Yeah, I know. I've cut
So it
up
was
that
like,
video before. Yeah.
and I think earlier in like in the DS we're playing Tampa. I had a like RBI double off Matt Moore off the wall.
Yeah.
A couple knocks, but definitely the World Series. World Series, you're like, holy shit,
Really? Yeah.
I'm in the World Series, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was hurt in the World Series, man. I had a messed up back, like herniated disc in my back. So I had limited at bats. I had a couple of bats. Remember Seagrass, the lefty from the Cardinals? He used
Vaguely.
to throw. It was back when he threw 100. He was like 98 to 101 lefty, like big lefty throwing gas.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a first pitch like dick ball, like middle in. And I knew he's throwing the fastball and he loved to pitch in. So I was already like looking dead red. And I like saw it and like just hit the bottom of the ball and flew out to like deep left center. But I hit it like super high. Like if I hit this much higher on the ball, fucking massacred, like crushed. Because he's throwing gas. And I hit it right off the sweet spot. Like you felt it. I was like, oh my God. Like I just missed hitting a World Series homer. And then another at bat in that series, Rosenthal. Remember when he was a closer? Yeah. And worked a really good at bat. I fouled off some tough pitches, ended up going 3-2. And he didn't throw his changeup a ton to righties at that point. And he threw me the fucking nastiest 3-2 changeup. And this was back when he was pumping like 99.
Yeah.
With like sink. And the ball starts like middle in, like waist high, and I'm like 3-2 count. I fouled off his pitches, his slider, everything. And here it comes, and this motherfucker just goes at my back foot. Like, and I talked to him about it like a year later, and he goes, "That's the best changeup I've ever thrown in my entire life."
Mm.
And I was like, "Fuck off." I was like, I just worked my ass off to get to this point in this at bat, and you decided to pull a rabbit out of a hat, right? But it was, I mean, still like those at bats, like I can close my eyes and see the seams and the spin on those pitches because of what I just said of like how important it is. So pretty cool.
You have Houston advancing.
Yeah,
I have a little bit different matchup. The Rays and the Blue Jays. Gonna flip another coin and say it's gonna be Tampa. Moving on.
Dude, you're all over Tampa.
Yeah, I don't feel confident about this at all. They got a lot of depth.
I feel like you're just doing this to do it. I don't think you believe in it.
I don't. But I also filled out like brackets different ways, and I didn't feel confident about that way either. I don't feel confident about the American League at all.
I can zoom through this NL. I got Philly beat Milwaukee. So I got a rematch of last year's World Series.
Yeah.
And I got Philly winning the World Series.
Houston and Philly and Philly writing a different script, huh?
Yeah, but I got it going like 7. I got it going all the way.
Yeah.
For baseball.
I told you, man, I'm filling this out as we go. So
I think, and I've said this since August, I think you can have my back on this. This team is built for the postseason, man.
Mm-hmm.
They really they're just loaded with like dudes with big nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're not scared. Like these guys are grinders. Like I really like I like their manager. I mean, I like them. Philly wins World Series.
Tampa Bay versus the Braves in mine. I'll go with the best team in baseball this year and say Atlanta hoists the trophy.
That's a good pick. If they can beat the Phillies, they'll win the World Series.
I'm ready to light it on fire and throw it in the trash after round.
If something crazy happens and we don't get Philly versus Atlanta, I'm not watching the rest of the postseason.
Yeah.
Let's
go fighting fish, baby.
Fighting fish. I already forgot about them. The fighting Skip Schumachers. All right,
right,
man. That's good stuff.
Part of the Believe Network. Baseball postseason is here. Give me an absolute blast. Peace out, people.